Okay, let's go, everybody. Can grab their seats so we can get rolling here. Welcome to Tuesday night. Let's give the Lord a hand for getting us here safe and sound. Hi, Jared. We're going to open up in prayer as we always do, so please settle in, take a deep breath, and prepare for Stace's opening prayer.
Dear Jesus, thank you for this beautiful day and this opportunity to gather together to learn more about you. I just pray that you open our hearts and minds to the teaching you have for us through Pastor Jeff. And I pray for the still suffering addict that they find their way to freedom. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, give him a hand. Give him a hand. We're grateful that you came out tonight. We're super glad that you're here. As always, we want to welcome our live stream audience, and that's the people that are tuning in via our YouTube or our Serenity Village Community Church Facebook page. If you're not familiar with that, all you have to do is go to that Facebook page at Serenity Village Community Church and you'll see it live. You can actually invite people to watch tonight's teaching or on Sunday as well, live, and you can just do that right now if you want to. It might be a life changer for them, so feel free to join in and invite people to watch. Is there anybody in the house tonight? We always like to welcome our new guests, and by guests, we do mean that since you're here, you're already a family member to us. So, if you're here for the first time tonight in the sanctuary, I'd like you to stand so that we can welcome you. Anybody here for the first time? Lots of people. Lots of people. Awesome. Thank you. He's waving in the back. He wants to be recognized. That's good. That's good. We're grateful that you guys came out. You're already family to us, as I just said, so we would be honored if you chose to come back again next week. And if you do, bring somebody new with you. Okay, we'd love to see you. So let's welcome our first-time family members one more time. Lots of stuff going on this week here. As always, Monday night, we've got a big book meeting downstairs in Fellowship Hall at 7 p.m. Come on out for the big book meeting. And Mike already waved, but I didn't even call him out yet. We like Mike because Mike has run this meeting and been consistent for a long time. He's a great guy, and he does a great job. So welcome and thank Mike for taking care of business. So that's 7 o'clock downstairs. Also, Monday nights, 7 o'clock, another ministry that's gained a lot of steam and is really cooking is our men's ministry. So come on out for men's ministry. That's in the back here in our multi-purpose room, also at 7 p.m. So there's a lot going on Mondays. We also make sandwiches on Mondays at what time? 4:30? 5? Okay, 5 o'clock. So lots of things to do on Monday to occupy your time and help others. Tuesday night, you know where to come. You're here. Wednesday night, we've got Bible study right here in the sanctuary at 6:30. If you've never been, come on out. It's an awesome time. 6:30 tomorrow night. This week, Thursday, we have Marriage and Relationship Builders, as we have it every single month. We do have some new leaders this week as Sean is taking a week off. And we're going to welcome Pastor Blair and Miss Rosa to teach this week. So give them a hand. They're not here yet. They're coming, but they're not here yet. So please come on out Thursday night, this week, Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. Childcare is available, is what I'm hearing, correct? Okay. So 6:30 and get fed by Pastor Blair and Miss Rosa. Also, we have a lot going on Sunday. Can everybody say Sunday? Church? Church? On Sunday. Oh no, here comes my cough. 10 a.m., 12:30, and 6 p.m. 10 a.m. here in Crystal for church, 12:30 over at our North campus, say North. And 6 p.m. back here in Crystal. We'd love to see you at 1, 2, or 3 of those services on Sunday night. Last but not least, next week already, it's sneaking up on us. Next week is Medallion Night, next Tuesday night, the 25th. It's the last Tuesday of the month. We do it every month. If anyone in here is celebrating 1 year or more sobriety during the month of March, you are qualified to receive a medallion next Tuesday night. but you do have to sign up, and tonight's the last night to sign up. So the sheet is in the back. Please go ahead and make sure your name's on there if that is you. Any questions? No, good. Because Pastor Jeff's got a word up here that's about 1.5 pounds, so he's got a lot of meat to serve up tonight. We are ready for him. If he is ready for us, we shall see if he is ready for us. Is Pastor Jeff ready for us? Apparently not yet. Well, that's good. This gives me an opportunity. Is there anybody tonight, because we don't do this very often, but we like to recognize those people that are here because you're here. Is there anybody in tonight that is here tonight in the house that's been sober for 24 hours or less? Or less. If you are and you have the courage, stand up so we can recognize you. 24 hours or less, anybody? All right, how about less than 1 week? Anybody 1 week or less? If you can stand up, that'd be great. You stand up, right there. Thank you, and we only do that so we can encourage you. We're grateful that you're here. You're the most important person in the room tonight, so thank you for coming out. And now, we're ready for Pastor Jeff. Let's give Pastor Jeff a hand.
Let's give Doug a hand. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for coming back. Last week, my son, who's basically been part of Serenity Village since Serenity Village started, I think it's one thing to be able to provide for your children. I think you should get a gold star for that. And I haven't always been the best dad and father early on in his life when he was in that 0 to 5 stages. And the psychologists tell us that in that phase of your life is when things are really impacting you, even though you're not conscious of what the impact is. But it really blessed my heart because last week at like 2 a.m. before I was going to bed after Tuesday night, I just texted him, "I love you." And for 20 years of Serenity Village, I've always purposely put my kids on the spot so they can learn a different level of confidence. I don't apologize for getting this meeting started late tonight because I have to be selfish once in a while, and I needed to greet you because you are worth knowing. Tommy, come up here. He didn't know he was doing this. No, you're not my son. Well, actually, he kind of is. Tom Hatch used to be my dope dealer in high school. But, do you have your phone on you?
Yeah.
Last Wednesday morning, I walked into a River Place and privileged to lead groups for 7 consecutive hours. And I got this text from Tommy, and it really centered my day, and I want you to read it.
I said, "I love you too, Dad. Hope you have a great day. Shift the atmosphere in every room you walk into today with your charismatic leadership and joyful spirit."
And if you want to, I just want to thank you so much for what that meant for me. You're a good man. And one thing that he said to me when we spoke later on that day is he recognizes, and always has, but for whatever reason, last Tuesday night stood out to him on how much his father, being me, needs all of you. And hopefully vice versa. And why did that sink in so deep last week on how much we, the community, mean to each other, how much I mean to them and they mean to me?
It was just evident with the love that flows throughout you and through them too. Just the love in this atmosphere was heavy. And it was very evident that night too, as well as every night.
Let's give him a hand. So another cool thing that happened tonight. Now, I love having a front row seat to transformation. And as you walked in and you got your word up, you probably saw there's a lot of information on there. And what's up, Martell? Love you, man. Love you too, Jeff. But this young man here that I have had the front row seat of watching him blossom, and he always sits in the same place. And when he got his 1-year freedom anniversary, he didn't feel like he wanted to come up, and that was okay. So I delivered it to him. It's always the quiet ones that you really want to watch, and you can see their progress. Not watching like a conspiracy way, but it really blessed my heart. And I told his mom this, who's sitting to his left. I said, man, and I got the chills when I told him this. And I had said to him, like, man, your whole aura, your whole demeanor, the way you look has totally been transformed. I can assure you, a year ago, if he walked into this place and saw all those words on that word up, he would have rolled his eyes and said, this is going to be a long night. You know what he said to me tonight? I look forward to it. Let's give him a hand. So I just encourage all of you to give it a shot, give it your best, do what you can. Sometimes to find out your purpose, you got to start with what your purpose isn't. And I just want to commend all of you this evening that you are worth it, that it is worth fighting for. You know, some of us had a challenging day. I say this all the time. A good day is when everybody loves you, everybody's happy with you. A great day is when things don't go so right and you still don't get high. How many of you had a great day today? You know, I've been anticipating the arrival of this champion right here. He's a handsome, good-looking young man. He's a man of purpose that has fought the good fight. He's a good man. He's got a good woman to his right. And it's just always a blessing when you follow through with what you say you're going to do. Let's give him a hand. And I could go around this room. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. And he was fighting for his life recovery coach today, who's run into some health problems. And what I told this young man is because we have conversations when I'm going around, you know, and I wish I could sit and talk forever. But I said, the best way for you to fight for her as she's fighting for her health is to stay sober. So then she doesn't have to worry about you, and she can stay focused on that. But I could go around this room and give hundreds of examples. And God always protects an example. And you didn't come this far not to go farther. So tonight, you know, I see a lot of things in church. I see a lot of things in the rooms of AA. Tonight we're going to continue the series, and we're going to get kind of practical and clinical. It may not be this yay, rah, rah, but sometimes we over-spiritualize things. And without spirituality, without a relationship with Jesus, you don't have a chance. But Jesus is a principle God. The 12 steps of AA says to practice these principles in all your affairs. So this video, Miss Grace asked for a night off. Her voice is strained a little bit. So as we pass the baskets to help people in need, that's also being an example. The best way to make sure I'm taken care of is to make sure I do my best to take care of other people. Because you cannot keep what you have unless you give it away. And you may say you have nothing to give. I call BS, bad story. You have a smile to give. You can pick up a piece of paper you didn't drop. Kindness goes a long ways. When you're kind, it doesn't mean everybody's going to be kind to you. But I'm here to tell you, tonight I'm going to teach you principles that I have been taught that have impacted areas of business, real estate, ministry, relationships. These are going to be valuable lessons that I've been taught. So this word discouragement, how many at times feel discouraged? You have to have a plan. You cannot just let discouragement talk to you. You have to talk to discouragement. Another just blessing I had, thank you, Holy Spirit, for reminding me just now. We got the men of Next Step in the house. Stand up. Let's give them a hand. When I saw this guy, that was great. And this warrior. Well, I've known this queen with them for a long time. She's a warrior in the kingdom. She's no joke. So I just like to see people that are part of programs, and you're doing it. There's no shame in being in a program. I'm going to be in a program the rest of my life. And hopefully the program will be in me the rest of my life. So I commend all of you, but you got to talk back to discouragement. You cannot just let it talk to you. Please check out this video.
Dear discouragement, I see you. You show up unannounced, quietly creeping into my thoughts. filling the spaces where hope once lived. You thrive in my moments of weakness, in the cracks where exhaustion and frustration meet. You feed on my fears, my doubts, and my uncertainties, whispering that I'm not enough, that I should give up, that the road ahead is too long and too hard. You know where to strike, right when I'm halfway through, just like Nehemiah's people building their wall. You arrive when the work feels overwhelming, when fatigue takes a hold and the tasks seem too large to complete. You thrive on making me lose focus, pulling my eyes away from the purpose and onto the rubble that surrounds me. You magnify my failures, amplifying the moments where I feel short and convincing me that I'll never get back up. Your persistent discouragement. You plant seeds of fear, convincing me that the obstacles in front of me are greater than the strength within me. You make me question every decision, every step, and though fear should guide me instead of faith. But here's the thing. I recognize you for what you are. A thief of my joy, a blocker of my vision, a disturber of my peace. You want me to believe that I'm on the wrong path, that I should quit, but I won't. I'm learning that it's not about doing the wrong things. Sometimes it's about recognizing the way I do them. You make me feel like I should stop, but maybe I just need to adjust my approach. So I want to give you this last word. I remember the times I've overcome you before, how God has brought me through when the road felt impossible. I'll resist your pull, knowing that perseverance is born in the tension between struggle and strength. You may come knocking, discouragement, but I'm choosing not to open the door. Sincerely, someone who's pressing on.
Lord, I thank you for another day above ground and out of prison. I thank you if they gave me a UA right now, I'd pass it. I ask that you think through my mind and speak through my vocal cords. I ask if there's anything in me that's not of you, I ask for forgiveness, and I receive it. I thank you for the opportunity and privilege to be in the presence of world changers that are in this room right now. So have your way in and through me. In your name we pray, amen. Let's give God a hand. Pastor Blair said to me last week after the teaching, he says, that's one of my top 3. John Cook, another man I have, he was saying he had never heard David and Goliath explained that way. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to go practical, we're going to go spiritual, we're going to go clinical, we're going to go every approach that you leave with victory. So in the book of 1 Samuel 17, a lot of people know about David and Goliath, and here the Israelite army and the Philistines are basically at a standoff with each other, and this standoff lasted 40 days. And they called Goliath the champion. And last week I talked about that he was nearly 9 to 10 feet tall. And anything that is a giant in your life, through your mentality, through your emotional health, through your behaviors, it is a champion over your life. That means it has rule over you. And we talked about that, and we talked about the armor that Goliath had. And I had a revelation. I had a revelation when I was over at the North Service this past Sunday, and I was watching Erica press through, and I was watching Pastor Blair prophesy to the congregation that seizing the giant is even more difficult than killing it. The pursuit of excellence. And we talked about that, and we talked about how the giant, imposes fear into us. And if the giant imposes fear into us, the giant has already got an edge on us because we are weakened by fear, and the opposite of fear is faith. And basically, the giant started the battle before it began because it created a fear in the Israelite army. And the reason why Goliath, as I said a moment ago, is called the champion is because it had rule. I mean, people had to listen to what it said. And also in verse 8, it talked about How they came up to line up for battle, but they never fought the battle. They sat there for 40 days at a standoff, being taunted and criticized and laughed at by this giant. How long have you been taunted by your giant? How long have you been criticized by your giant, your past failures and mistakes? Just because you failed doesn't mean you're a failure. And we talked about that, and he basically, Goliath said, if I beat you, you will serve me, and if you beat me, I will serve you. So we talked about that last week. How long have you been serving your giants? Serving your mentality, serving your emotions. I understand, I have trauma too, and for a lot of my life, my trauma became the template of every decision I made, and we're going to talk about that in the coming weeks. But how long have we been lined up for battle and then tapped out? How long have we went to treatment and left early? How many times have we entered the program and never worked the program? I heard Willie Burton say last night at the recovery event at the Timberwolves, and it really stood about, he talked about a moment in New York when he came, as they told him in AA, they said, you will come face to face with your disease. And if you're not in recovery, they asked me to go on talk shows, and they say, Pastor Jeff, is it a disease or is it a sin? I don't major in the minors. I just know it'll kill me. I do know it's progressive. I know I pick up where I left off and worse. I know that I'll never be a social drinker or a social user. That ship has sailed, so I no longer try to jump on it. Tonight I'm grateful to be sober, but I mean, so many times we line up for battle, but we never fight this thing called addiction. And we serve our emotions. We serve our anger. I mean, I serve crack cocaine. I'm not just talking about selling it. I would serve my anxiety. I would serve my fear because I didn't know how to kill it. And we talked about how David won, and we're going to get into that in the next couple weeks, that he knew that God was fighting on his behalf. He said that you're coming against the army of Israel, which is God's army. And what he says now in verse 47, that I come to you to fight in the name of the Lord. So whatever your giant is, you got to have God fighting with you and for you. See, a lot of people mix up religion for relationship. God sometimes will do it for you, but he would rather do it with you. Because this isn't about religion, this is about relationship. And these giants, as the 3 weeks ago when Pastor Danny spoke, these giants that you guys all said were your giants, right? These are all the things that you said that you're struggling with. These are words that came out of your mouth. And over the next several weeks, we're going to teach you how to kill it. Say, kill it. Kill it. So tonight I want to talk to you about a couple principles that you need to learn on how to kill your giants. In 1 Samuel 16:14, which is not on your sheet, last week we talked about Saul was the ruler, but the Spirit had left him. You want to be around Spirit-filled people. Saul was the people's pick, and David was God's pick. In 1 Samuel 16:23, it says, when the Spirit from God came on Saul, see, Saul was tormented with bad spirits. And David was called to play a harp, I believe it was, that would alleviate these tormenting spirits that Saul was facing. 1 Samuel 16:23. And relief would come to Saul, and the evil spirit would leave him. Have you ever been around a person that is so anointed, when you're in their presence, whatever spirit you're fighting seems to dissipate? If you can find those people in your life, get around them as much as you can. And that's what David was to Saul. And the crazy thing is, if you continue to read the Bible, Saul tried to kill David because envy is dangerous. Envy and jealousy is dangerous. And now in 1 Samuel 16:11 and 12, David was working. See, Samuel, the prophet, was sent to anoint the future king. And we understand now, and we talked about that last week, that when David was picked, it was because of his heart. That people look at the things that God doesn't look at. God looks at the heart. God's going to pick up man or a woman that are after his own heart. We understand now that David went out of his way to help the evil spirit leave Saul. And now Samuel shows up to anoint the future king. And he goes to the father, Jesse, and he says, are all these the sons you have? And Jesse says, there's still one of my sons that's out in the field working. All of the other 7 brothers thought they were going to be anointed the king because God typically picks the underdog. God picks the person that's got the heart. And he says, there is a youngest son of mine. He is tending to the sheep. Samuel said, send for him, and we will not sit down until he arrives. So he sent for him, and he brought him in. He was glowing of health. And the Lord said to Samuel, rise, and I will anoint him, because this is the one. Let me tell all of you tonight that you are the one. You are the one that the devil tried to kill. You are the one that the addiction tried to wipe you off this planet. You are the one that caused a lot of chaos in your family, but you are still the one. You are still the one that God is going to use if you participate in the program, and God will use you to do things that God typically wouldn't use people like us to do. Say, I am the one. Say, I am the one. Now, when you say you're the one, you shouldn't get a big ego. Ego is edging God out. It should actually humble you to the core. Who, me, crackhead Jeff? Who, me, the guy who was successful at failing? Who, me, the guy that took shortcuts that were nothing but setbacks? Who, me, that was a chronic relapser? It should humble you when you understand that the same ripple effect that your addiction caused to destroy your family, God will turn around for the same ripple effect to totally restore your family. I was in a meeting today, an interview today, and this person used the word restore. And it absolutely blew my mind. So, going back to that slide with all those words that you wrote down, those are real to you. That is the manifestation, if it's fear, if it's this, if it's that, if it's addiction, if it's loneliness, if it's I don't feel loved, whatever it may be, and we're going to get into some of those over the next couple weeks. But these things that we will talk about are the root of the why. You wrote down the what. But if you don't get to the root of it, you're not going to understand the why. And you can cut it off at a higher level, but if you don't bring it up from the root, it will grow again. You don't want to just merely knock this stuff down. So I want to go now and really pick apart these characteristics, these character traits are why we don't kill our giants. These character traits, let me tell you something about these character traits that David had. See, you know, you get TikTok or FlickTalk or FaceTime or whatever, Snapchat, or those are all new fads. They'll be gone in 5 years. But these traits will never go out of style. These traits can never be watered down. These traits are in business. These traits are in any of your profession. These traits have to be learned in order to kill your giant. Say, kill it. We serve a principle God. We don't want just an experience that's not sustainable. We serve a principle God, and these are principles that we have to learn in time, because God is a God of principles. And we're going to talk about responsibility and obedience. And that word obedience just gets people nervous right there. Because as Pastor Danny was preaching this Sunday, obedience doesn't mean control, right? But at the end of the day, if we're honest with ourselves, we have been very responsible in our addiction to get our dope. We have been very obedient to fentanyl. We have been very obedient to alcohol. We didn't argue with it when it told us to drink it. But for those of you who aren't addicts and alcoholics tonight, I want you to also know you might be very obedient to your anger. You get angry whenever your anger tells you to get angry. We are very obedient to our fear. For some of us, people are very judgmental. They're very obedient and responsible to being judgmental. So we know how to be responsible and obedient. We just have been responsible and obedient to the wrong things. But you still have that character trait in you. You have to learn how to rechannel it. Manipulation is just a misused gift of influence. Worry is just a misused gift of creativity. If you give the devil an inch, he's going to take a mile. So David had these characteristics, and if you do not have these characteristics within your character, you're not going to kill your giant. And it's going to be hard for God to work in and through you. The first characteristic that David had is he was responsible. Say, prove it to me. Say it like you want me to prove it to you. Say, prove it to you. The word responsible is defined as to have control or authority over something, someone, a duty of taking care of it. Now, if we couldn't even take care of ourselves, how can we expect to take care of other people? David was the youngest of all 8 sons, and I'm here to tell you from personal experience that age has nothing to do with maturity. I see grown men all the time throwing temper tantrums and taking their ball and go home. So David was the youngest of 8 sons. Age has nothing to do with maturity. David had the responsibility of tending to his father's sheep. He had the responsibility of making sure when Saul was tormented by evil spirits that he went there to play music for him. And David had the responsibility of making sure wherever he went, he refreshed people. In 1 Samuel 17:15, David was multifaceted. On top of his responsibilities, it says, but David went back and forth from Saul to the field. God typically does not use people that aren't multifaceted. David took care of what he needed to with the sheep, and he took care of what he needed to with Saul. David was responsible, and he was multifaceted. On top of his responsibilities with Saul, he still tended to the sheep. He didn't use the excuses human beings do these days, like, well, I'm too busy. A lot of times people are going 100 miles an hour in neutral. Let's define your busy. What are you too busy with? And I'm here to tell you, if you ever get around people that can open doors for you professionally, this is what they look at when they look at you. David was able to do multiple things at once. He was able to relieve people. He was able to help you. God typically uses people that can do more than one thing at once. People that pivot in midair. Just because you went to work today doesn't mean you don't have to take out the trash tonight. In 1 Samuel 17:20, David had all of his responsibilities covered. It said he went back and forth from Saul to there, and now it says early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of his shepherd. David did not leave people hanging. Before David set out, he made sure that the flock was covered. And a lot of us run from one thing to another. We're not good at transitioning. And at the end of the day, early in the morning, David left the flock in care of the shepherd, loaded up and set out, and Jesse had directed him. David could take direction. He didn't take direction as rejection. David did not say, hold up, Jesse, my dad. I'm taking care of Saul. I'm taking care of the sheep. And you can't possibly ask me to do anything else. If only thing you can be trusted with is one thing, that's the only thing you'll ever be trusted with. And at the end of the day, David went out right after his father told him, and he reached the camp. David was willing to leave his comfort zone to go to the war zone. If you don't learn responsibility and all you ever want to do is be comfortable, you will never grow. And at the end of the day now in 1 Samuel 17:22, David made sure his people were covered. Anybody who is responsible makes sure their people are covered. It says David left his things with the keeper of supplies. He didn't leave them hanging. He ran to the battle lines. He didn't lollygag. He ran to the battle lines and asked his brothers how they were. David made sure everything that was handled that needed to be handled in his absence. If David went to the war zone, he wasn't afraid to go where it was dangerous. David went where it was dangerous. But today's world, as an employer, people just don't want to leave their comfort zone. You're never going to go too far in life if you're not willing to leave your comfort zone. Like Stace taught us, don't let the gifts of the program take you away from the program. Don't become all high and mighty and remove yourself from the very place that gave your life back. I know if I ever did that with Bishop Earl Gilchrist, my dad would slap me upside the head. Because that's how we were raised. No one got to where they're at by themselves. David knew this. David respected this. He wasn't afraid to get out of his comfort zone. He wasn't always willing to play it safe. He was willing to take risk. See, a lot of today's world, a lot of people have 1,000 excuses of why they can't do it and why it's not working. David did not do any of that. I've never in my life, in business and ministry, I've never in my life heard the word "I'm overwhelmed" as much as I hear it now. Well, let's unpack with what you're overwhelmed with. And a lot of people come to me and they say, my life's out of balance. And they're like, well, a lot of times when a person feels like their life is out of balance, they'll begin to make changes on the outside life. I mean, well, 2 months ago you did all this and you were totally fine. What's changed? The task hasn't changed. Something inside of you, my dad broke both of his hips. He broke both of his hips because his internal equilibrium was off. A lot of times when I meet with people, I see their spiritual equilibrium off. They're out of balance, but David did not have that. David was willing to take the responsibility. See, a lot of people want the rewards without the responsibility. They want the rewards without the sacrifice. And a lot of people have the excuses. So a responsible person is typically characterized, now I want to get clinical with you, being accountable for their actions, reliable, dependable, honest, own their mistakes, prioritizing commitments. I wish I would say this more often, and if it ever needed to be said to me, please, my sponsor should say it. If God is not your priority, which is recovery, God will have no problem cleaning your plate so he becomes your priority again. Right or wrong? God will have no problem cleaning your plate so you have to focus on him again. I don't want to ever do that again because I've done it too many times to count. So at the end of the day, somebody that is responsible, they take ownership. It's easy to give God everything when you got nothing. And I think about all these different things that I've learned. And it says effective planning and organizing tasks, people that take initiative. Key characteristics of a responsible person is reliability. Consistency. Consistency is power. You want to be around consistent people. You want to be around people that you're not even questioning if they're going to show up. And for whatever reason they don't come, you know why they're not coming. I sat down with 2 of my managers this afternoon and they told me that some of these projects went to another company. I said, well, how did you not know that? How did you not know why we lost the business? How did you not know who's doing the business in lieu of us doing the business? You do not clearly have your finger on the pulse. And I didn't say it from an angry heart. I said it to teach them. So key characteristics, consistently following through on commitments and promises. See, I learned this from Pastor Stephen Furtick. It's actually a compliment if you are working in a work environment and somebody says, thank you so much for doing this on time. If they say that to you, that's great once, but if they say it multiple times, they never thought you would do it on time. After a while, your performance and reliability should be really expected within the organization. People that are honest. Being transparent. We can see something's going on. Just tell us. It's okay not to be okay. David was like that. Self-discipline. Not just over his behaviors, but also over his emotions. Emotional regulation. Exercising control over behavior and actions. We learned that when they were coming against David, David kept his spirit in step. If he would have lost himself in anger, he wouldn't have been in step with the Spirit. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you're around a leader that can't trust your emotions, you're not going very far. And at the end of the day, when we learned that about David was being talked about, ridiculed, gossiped about, laughed at, but he didn't quit. He was more concerned about God's cause than his feelings. He exercised restraint that took courage, and we'll talk about that. People that are responsible take initiative. Proactively taking action without being prompted. They have organizational skills, effectively planning and managing their time and tasks. They respect the rules, they're committed, they have consideration for others. They're adaptable, they're flexible so they don't get bent out of shape. Have you ever sat down with a person that's always overwhelmed, and if you really were to sit with them, what are you overwhelmed about? It's like doing a 4-step. All the stuff that's bottled up inside of us, when you see it in the light of day through pen and paper, it loses its power. But there are people, if not all of us, at one time that are extremely irresponsible. You are not going to kill these emotional, mental, or behavioral giants by being, so why is an individual irresponsible? I don't think anybody chooses to be irresponsible. I don't think being irresponsible feels good or you get very far. Irresponsibility can broadly be defined as a personality trait, characterized by consistent failure to fulfill obligations, meet commitments, and take responsibility for one's actions. You typically see a person blaming everybody else for why this isn't happening. Individuals with irresponsibility traits often exhibit behaviors such as procrastination, neglect of duties, and avoidance of responsibilities. Procrastination. Procrastination involves consistently delaying tasks or responsibility, often until it becomes urgent and unmanageable. I do it. I don't do it as much as I used to do it, but it takes so much work to get caught up versus just staying caught up. And you learn this about David now, and I'm telling you, if you bring this information into your daily life, it'll change your life. Often until it becomes urgent and unmanageable, individuals with subtype may struggle with time management, prioritize short-term gratification over long-term goals. They'll neglect their responsibilities. Neglect of responsibilities entails failing to attend their obligations, whether they be work-related, financial, or personal. Individuals with this subtype may overlook bills. Let me tell you, I don't know if they mail bills anymore, a lot of it's electronic, but when you put it in the drawer, it doesn't disappear. And if you do stay sober, you do want a credit score. If you're ever going to do something in your life, you want a credit score. So they neglect personal commitments, avoidance of commitments. They don't answer their phones. People that have irresponsibility, and that's been all of us. Avoidance of commitments refers to a pattern of avoiding or canceling commitments altogether. Individuals with this subtype may struggle to commit to plans, appointments, or agreements with others. Causes of irresponsibility. The development of irresponsibility can be influenced by a combination of genetic, environmental, or psychological factors. These functions deficits, some individuals may have deficits, such as organization, planning, time management, which contribute to irresponsibility. It could be a learned behavior. You've been around irresponsible people as you grew up. That's not good, and we couldn't choose that, but you can choose a different path now. If you're going to kill your giants, irresponsibility is a learned behavior, and it can be learned through modeling or reinforcement, especially in family environments where responsibility was not emphasized. There's also psychological factors, ADHD. That was me. Who else got ADHD? I got ABD, CDF, ACDC, CDB. That's how many people have suffered from depression. That should be 100% of us. There's no shame in that. We're all bipolar. I can spend a day with you. I can attest to that myself. And anxiety contribute to anxiety? I used to have to blow into a paper bag. My mom used to take me to the ER because I thought I was having a heart attack. I was having panic attacks. And now I'm speaking in front of hundreds of people because I learned how to kill that giant because the Lord is with me. The Lord is with me. Personality traits of people that are irresponsible, they have low conscientious. They don't do it well. They just go through life just getting by and wonder why everybody is passing them by. You know, they want an extraordinary life, but they don't put an extra on top of the ordinary. If there ever was an opportunity to go to the next level, it's now, because the level of excellence in this country is diminished. We have to get it back. You want to start a business, it's prime time. Because it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. How do you do it? What do people get when they get you? Can you be counted on? Do you pick up the phone? So we learn this responsibility, but there's consequences of irresponsibility. Irresponsibility can have significant consequences, affecting various aspects of an individual's life, strained relationships. Irresponsibility can strain personal and professional relationships, as others may perceive an individual as unreliable and untrustworthy. It can cause financial difficulties, neglect of financial responsibilities, such as paying bills and managing expenses. A lot of people live beyond their means. That will catch up with you. Work and academic, waiting to do it. It causes irresponsibility can impact one's ability to excel in the workplace, leading to job losses and poor academic performance. It also causes stress and anxiety. Chronic procrastination and avoidance can lead to heightened stress and anxiety as individuals grapple with mounting responsibilities. Managing and harnessing irresponsibility. While irresponsibility can present challenges, there are strategies and interventions that individuals can employ to manage and harness their trait effectively. Cognitive behavioral therapy. I had to go through therapy to learn how to be responsible. I had to go through different things because I was around a lot of irresponsibility. Self-monitoring, keeping a record of obligations, deadlines, and commitments. Goal setting, create wins in your life. I remember when we started this church, there was 25 of us, and we bought 100 chairs, and the place always felt empty. What I told the ushers, remove 50% of the chairs, and we'll feel like it's full. We created a win. You got to learn how to create wins and support systems. You got to be accountable to people. So David was responsible. Say responsible. David was obedient. Say obedient. Obedience is obeying. We don't like that word. Or willing to obey, complying with submission to authority. You will never be committed until you're first submitted. You have to submit to the process. See, a lot of people want the promises, but they don't want to participate in the principles of the process. Like I told you, I'm not going to be running around here yay, rah, rah tonight. I'm trying to get you fundamental principles on how to elevate your life. Is it good? 1 Samuel. David listened to orders intently. Oh, I love it when I was that guy too. Oh, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes until I don't feel like doing it. It's easy to give God and you got everything when you got nothing. That's just manipulation. That's all that is. You're just trying to get something for yourself until you get what you need, then you're out. Let me tell you one thing, you can maybe manipulate people, but you can never manipulate God. God knows, he's God. You know, you can manipulate me. I'm like, oh yeah, brother, I'm with you. Hey, help me, until you get the help you need, and then you're out. But don't do that with God. If you do that with God, like I said earlier, if you become too busy for your recovery and for God, God will have no problem clearing your plate. So David was obedient. And let me break it down. Say, break it down. 1 Samuel 17, same chapter. David listens to orders intently. His father, Jesse, said, take some food to your brothers to the war zone. David did exactly what he was told to do, and he didn't talk back. See, a lot of people today have the yeah buts. They're not responsible. Yeah, but I got to do this. Yeah, but I got to do that. Yeah, but you got too big of a butt. Your booty's too big. I mean, you know, I didn't, when crack said smoke me, I didn't say, yeah, but I got to go to work. I smoked it. When meth said shoot me, I didn't say, no, I got to go pick up the kids. I shot it in my arm. I had no yeah buts in my addiction. But in my recovery, I get these yeah buts. And I get it. It's a dime a dozen. I probably was one of them back in the day. Yes, I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes. Give me kumbaya, Jesus. And as soon as I get what I want, I'm out. It's not about seasonal stuff. Let me tell you, addiction's never going to leave you. You got to kill it. And he took it in 1 Samuel 17:20. David executed the orders immediately. He didn't talk back. He didn't give all the excuses. Early in the morning, David left the flock in care of the shepherd, loaded and set up, and he went down to the camp. David did his part, and he did it immediately. People today become consumers versus contributors. They want a mainline blessing with a sideline commitment. Then they sit back hating on the brother because he's getting blessed, but they won't do the thing to stay blessed. It's one thing to get blessed, it's another thing to stay blessed. People don't want to go above and beyond anymore. They do the bare minimum. People these days, well, I just don't feel like doing it. Hey, can you handle this? I just don't feel like doing it. I don't know where Doug is, but I remember the first time Doug says, you know, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. That's cool. But can you sit back and watch somebody else do what you're called to do? That's got to be a little painful because you're the one who's called to do it. We can clearly find somebody else to do it. I found that out, that God humbled me to the core. What's the company going to do without Jeff Hill? Well, they're just fine. Quite frankly, they went to another level. Because God had to humble me. So I'll never play that game again. I'm grateful to have a job. Because there was a time that I didn't have responsibility, that I did whatever I felt. Well, every night, probably 5 to 6 nights a week, I take a cold plunge, and Mike sets it up for me, and it's 45-degree water, and I'm learning mind over matter. I want to jump out of that thing. I'm like, no, stay in it, stay in it, stay in it, stay in it, stay in it. And let me tell you, every time I stay in it, I feel better. Learning mind over matter at different stages of life is very important, and David had that at a young age, because when God called David, when he killed Goliath, he was 17. 17 years old. But today, people, let me teach you something about my God. Speaking to being irresponsible, because I can speak on it because I used to live that way. See, a lot of us, we push off tomorrow what we need to do today. That is dangerous. And let me tell you why. It's dangerous because God already has something for you tomorrow. And when you push off what you should do today into tomorrow, God's got to push out what he's got for you tomorrow to the next day. And pretty soon it's years go by, and God's just waiting to bless you, but you keep pushing off your responsibilities. I always tell people when we do projects 16 to 18-hour days, you're in hell right now. Why do you want to tap out early? We can finish a job in 2 hours. Why would you want to come back to hell tomorrow? See, I love what Nike says just do it. I'd rather wear a sweatshirt that says just did it. David just did it. He didn't let fear come on. He didn't let fear come as master. So we learned this about David. A person who is obedient typically displays characteristics like readily following instructions. A lot of times I used to be sponsored. I kind of, let's say Pastor Blair was my sponsor. I'd walk up to him and I wanted to save face, and I'd be like I'm going for guidance, right? But I'm really just informing him what I'm doing. That's dangerous if you're a crack addict like me. Because if I won't invite you into my plan, it's probably not a good plan to begin with. And at the end of the day, a lot of even holy rollers say, well, this is what I heard from God. Well, anytime Pastor Jeff thinks he hears from God, he calls Bishop Earl. Yeah. Not that Bishop Earl's God, but I have enough humility to say, hey, Bishop, is this God talking to me? And God does talk to all of us. Don't get me wrong. You don't need to hear from God from a bishop or a pastor. He'll speak directly to you. But at least run it by somebody. So the word obedient is authority. See, a lot of things, I never want to be too comfortable with my boss. With authority. I didn't like authority. Now authority helped me save my life. And complying with rules, showing deference to higher positions, but in today's world, it's like everybody's just questioning everything. The yeah buts. Well, I'm not so sure. And if you're going to be a person that follows the program, resistance and questioning, it works if you work. Key points about an obedient person. They respect authority, and I know that's hard to do. It was hard for me to do. They readily acknowledge and follow directions. Compliance. They tend to strictly adhere to established guidelines and regulations. They follow things without hesitation. What I always tell my managers is this: I got to be able to trust your no. When you come to me that, no, we can't do this, you better have evaluated all options before you come with a no. Sunday after church, Mike and I were going to eat, and we picked up Tyler, and I said, you're going to have the best hamburger in town. He goes, what you talking about? I don't know if you like the hamburger or the fries more, but I just loved hanging out with you because I love people with pure hearts. But people that are obedient. An important thing is it's a dutiful behavior. It's submission. I know those words are really hard to digest. It's an important consideration that balance is key. It's okay to say no. For whatever reason, people don't like to say no to me. And what happens, and how that manifests, is they're afraid to say no, and they don't want to do it. Just say you don't want to do it. But the task still needs to be done. You got to be okay with somebody else doing it then. But what happens then is they're afraid to say no. So they're, if I say, Tim, let's go rob a bank, you should say no. That's not what I'm talking about when it comes to obedience. I'm talking about things that have ethics and character and integrity. But at the end of the day, you got to be okay with saying no. And if you don't and you do it when you don't want to do it, you're going to get twisted and you're going to manifest, you're going to you're going to transition all whacked out. One of my good friends and I were recently talking about balance is the key. You don't have to say yes to everything. That doesn't mean that you're not obedient. But have mentorship in your life. While obedience is generally positive in situations, required adherence to the rules and follow instructions, excessive obedience without critical thinking is problematic. You still participate in this. As a leader, it's not my way or the highway. You know how screwed up these companies would be? It was just Jeff making the decisions. We make collaborative decisions. We talk amongst ourselves. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. It's okay to be challenged. So there's also cultural influences that come into play. A disobedient person is typically characterized by somebody that refuses to follow the rules, displays defiance, stubbornness, a lack of respect for authority, and tendency of actively resist or challenge commands. Key characteristics of a disobedient person, they're always defiant. Openly resisting and arguing against instructions. They're constantly non-compliant, refusing to follow rules or requests. They're stubborn, unwilling to change their behavior even when presented with valid reasons to do so. Lack of respect for people, argumentative behavior. I choose not to argue with people. If you're around an argumentative person, they'll say, I want to give you a piece of my mind. You say, I'd rather not have a piece of that mind. Don't say it, just think it. But at the end of the day, all you have to do is leave the conversation. And either they're going to find somebody else to argue with, or they're going to argue with themselves. They intentional disregard, they blame other people, they push back against any consequences. Important considerations, what might be considered disobedient can vary depending on situation, age, and cultural things. Underlying reasons, disobedience can sometimes stem from a deeper issue of misunderstanding, frustration, or need for control. Developmental factors, younger children exhibit more disobedient behavior due to their developmental stage, but that was me. I was a grown man with little boy issues. I'd throw temper tantrums as a grown adult if I didn't get my way. That didn't get me very far in life. So when we learn these things, like I said, what David said, that maturity has nothing to do with age. Maturity has to do with emotional regulation. Maturity has to do with really giving your life to God. So when I look at these things that we learned from David tonight, the question I have for you is, are you responsible? Can people count on you? Are you responsible towards God? 2 Corinthians 5:10, we appear before Christ to receive what is due for our actions, both good and bad. Romans 14:12, we give account. Proverbs 16:3, we should commit our actions to the Lord. Responsibility towards others, Luke 10. We should be responsible on how we act towards others. 1 Corinthians 12, we should care for one another as members of the body. Galatians 6, you got to understand, you reap what you sow. Responsibilities towards ourselves. We should study God's word, 2 Timothy 2. Mark 1, we should repent. Own your stuff. It doesn't mean you have to go in front of the assembly and tell everybody what you did. Just if that's what you feel like you need to do, do it. You do you. But you could also just go spend some private time with God and repent. And get out of your own way. You have a responsibility and I have a responsibility to God, and we will break that responsibility. We're humans. We're flawed. At times we make mistakes. We have responsibility towards other people, and you have a responsibility to yourself. But if you can't meet the responsibility that God has for yourself, you're not going to meet it with God or other people. How do you become responsible? How can people count on you to show up, even when you don't feel like it? How can you learn how to do multiple things at once? I don't like change. I used to keep the same belts. They were so raggedy. I don't like change, but change is constant. There's two types of pain when it comes to change. The pain of change or the pain of staying the same. Pick your pain. There's going to be pain. There's going to be pain of being responsible. There's going to be pain of learning obedience. There's going to be pain with this. But no pain, no gain. So the next question I have for you is, are you obedient? Are you obedient towards God? And if you haven't been, it's not the end of the world. There's times that I haven't been. Repent. Get back up. Do the right next thing. That's taking responsibility. I'm not here to tell you that everybody needs to know your business, but somebody does. Obedient towards God, John 14:15. If you love me and keep my commandments, Luke 11:28. Blessed are those who hear the word and keep it. 1 Samuel 15. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience towards other people. A new commandment, Jesus says to us, love those people like I loved you. Responsibility, obedient towards others. Obey your leaders, submit them. They are keeping watch over your souls as they will have to give account. Let them do it with joy, not groaning, that it would be no advance. I used to be one of, I got to go deal with Jeff. He's acting out again. I got to go deal with Jeff. He's missing again. I got to go deal with Jeff. He's homeless again. I got to go deal with Jeff because he didn't pay the rent again. I got to go pick up the kids because Jeff said he was going to pick up the kids and he didn't show up to pick up the kids. I don't want to be that guy anymore. And at the end of the day, we have to be obedient to ourselves. 1 Corinthians 9, highlight the importance of self-control and actively managing one's own actions to achieve a goal. Luke 10:27 implies that caring for oneself is a necessary part of being able to care for others. Was David a perfect man? We all know the story of David. He did some things. Just like you did. Just like I've done. It's about this. It's about the heart. It's about follow through and follow up. It's about, like my friend told me who overdosed from heroin, he said, damn what they say, watch what they do, and you'll know who they are. Actions speak louder than words. Can people count on you? The answer before was no. But change the narrative. 2 Chronicles 69, God is searching for giant slayers to be used by him. The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth in order to grow and strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. He's looking for giant slayers. You got to slay that fear. You got to slay your past so it doesn't corrupt your future. You got to slay that depression. You got to slay that addiction. You got to slay that loneliness. You got to slay that fear. You got to slay that abandonment. You got to slay that trauma. You got to slay that betrayal. You got to slay it, and you got to slay it by responsibility and obedience. I know you should have had it, and I should have had it when we were young, but that ship has sailed. You didn't have role models, but that was then, this is now. You are in a room, like Billy Burton said last night, when the addict shows up in my life, we outnumber the addict. There is over 400 people here tonight, and we outnumber the addiction. He's looking for giant slayers. He's looking for people that not only he can count on, that we can count on. In Revelation 2:17, it's time to conquer irresponsibility and disobedience. He who has an ear to hear, grab your ears. Make sure they're working. You wouldn't have grabbed them unless you heard me tell you to grab them. So they're working. For those of you who are defiant and said that's stupid, I love you. Let him hear. You know what? I know what's stupid. But you know what's really stupid? What these giants do to us. Yeah. That's really stupid. It is really stupid to wake up every morning like this. Right. Trying to get the vodka to your mouth. Right. It's really stupid. That's stupid. Oh, it's stupid with that meth bubble. That's stupid. I look like a fool as a junkie. I ain't got no problem looking like a fool representing. To the best of my ability, at times failing miserably. But I get back up. I dust myself off. And I don't stay down. Because giant slayers don't stay down. So the book of Revelation says, he or she who has an ear, let you hear what the Spirit says to the churches, to the recovery rooms, to the future giant slayers. Hear to those who overcome the giant. I will give them a new name. And I will write it on a stone, and only those who knew what they were like will know it came from God. So up until the night, maybe your name was irresponsible, rebel, never do what you're asked. Me too. But tonight I pray and I hope that you change your name. And it'll take time for them to trust you again. But they will never trust you until you trust you. But you will never trust you until you trust God.
Yes. That's so good.
I know too much about him to doubt him. I've come too far not to go farther. Do I need to learn a different degree of responsibility? Absolutely. Do I need to always be a little more obedient? Absolutely. I'm a flawed person. But let me tell you a secret. So are you. So my business ain't your business. And your business ain't my business. So let's do this. Let's slay these giants. Let's slay irresponsibility. Let's slay disobedience. So I want you to think about it. In a couple of weeks, we're going to teach you how to kill it. But if you're tired of being irresponsible, let me tell you, that 25-year-old man called my son for 20 years. I showed up every time I said I was gonna. Yeah. I was always where I said I was gonna be. And let me tell you something. It's one thing if you buy your son a car. We've done that. That's why I work hard, to grow the kingdom and take care of my children. Hopefully take care of all of us. But I'd rather get Dad change the dynamic of every room you walk into with your charismatic leadership and abundant joy than thank you for the car.
Yeah.
You can do it. You turned it around, bro. You turned it around. You're still here. Big things are on the way. Life is not passing you by. It's coming to you. God has something for you. Get around people. Get around people that have you. And it doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It doesn't. But I'm proud of you, man. Proud of you and you. Your smile, brother. And how all these changes and you're still working. It's crazy to me. Champions, 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 champions. This is my cousin. came to Serenity Village from a prison in Arizona. Arizona prisons are hot. The prison was in the middle of a field with a lot of dust. And what?
Tents.
Tents, prison tents. Because of that man over there by the name of Newt that treated him like he was his own brother or son, that's the we of the program. That's responsibility. Like my man said to me, my marriage was on the rocks a month ago and God has restored it. That's huge. Man, I hope you get this. The ship hasn't sailed. Get around. If you want to become responsible, get around people that are responsible. If you want to become obedient, to do the next right thing for the right reason, get around people that are doing it. Like this man right here and this man right here. This guy here, I'd go around the room. I don't know. I'm done. Love you.